Hey everybody, I'm Jim Rhodes, Artist Relations for Radial Engineering, and welcome to Radial On Record. Today I'm joined by the man, the musician, the total influencer and gear nerd, fellow Canadian Pete Thorn. Hey buddy, good to see you, my friend.
A good influence, I hope.
A very good influence.
Nice to see you.
You know, you as well. I think the last time I saw you was at NAMM, way back when we had a NAMM.
Remember those days?
Yeah, man, fondly, because I think we really miss them now. But
yeah,
you're a busy guy, online and touring music and at the show as well. So I appreciated you popping by the radio booth and saying hi. How's things in your world these days? You everybody's safe and sound? You all good?
Yeah, I mean, through this time, it's just been sort of just a blessing that I've had this format. I mean, YouTube and, this thing I've been developing over the last, 10 to 15 years, I guess. And there's some folks out there that might most people probably know me from YouTube. But before I was ever doing that, I was primarily a touring guitar player. So as we all know, that's gone away, at least for the time being. Hopefully it's coming back soon. But, had I not had this world to be in, I don't know what I would have done for the last year. So it would have been really tough. So I'm really thankful that we've got this. It's also been great to see some other folks like Eric Johnson or Steve Vai or different people, like, with the time that we've all had during these times, delve into doing the YouTube thing and kind of being they're great educators. And so that's been an amazing, sort of the silver lining or whatever, I guess, to this whole thing. But anyway, it's kept me busy as well. Doing the obviously gear demos and just kind of random videos and fun projects, and then my Sunday live stream, and it's just been a fun way to stay active. Thank you.
I love catching that, and thank you for doing the online stuff, because you're an educator. You move the needle. Like, you actually are one of those few that do it seamlessly. You explain things in a really simple format. In fact, I've watched many of them. In fact, I bought a head rush because I watched your demo video on the head rush pedal board.
Thank you.
And it's just one of those things that I think I can speak for a lot of people. When we watch you, we get it. It's like, I see what that does. I can hear what it does. I see what he's doing with it. You don't overcomplicate it, and you throw down some seriously monster music around the device, which must be satisfying to create the music with the device that you're demoing.
That's the most fun part, is doing the little songs. I always say, like, I've kind of got everybody fooled, because all I'm really doing is writing little songs, and I've got you fooled into thinking it's a gear demo. But really,
so you got 10 albums in the can, right?
My last record, I drew from a lot of the demos that I'd done, like pedal demos. So it was, that was really a thing. Yeah. Where I go back, I consider them demos, like they're little song demos. So I'll go back and kind of, they're generally about a minute and a half, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, but I'll draw from that and extend them into full songs, because I figure, why not? They're, perfectly good little sketches. So, but yeah, that's the fun part, is really just like making music and getting excited about sound, which is something I've kind of done my whole life. So it comes natural, like plugging in, get excited, plug in a new pedal. Oh, it makes this sound. You start playing some riff that's suited to it. And then before you know it, you got a little tune coming out of that. And that's the fun part for me, is like the writing and the production. And all I got to do is just kind of remember, once I've got an idea formed and I'm going to lay down a part, to just turn on the camera and record it. And then I can assemble a little video out of that. So yeah,
that's cool that you do that, because I mean, it's a process. I watch your videos, and for Radial, we thank you for being a part of helping us with reviews and whatnot over the years.
Oh, yeah.
You've done some killer videos for us with, I believe, the elevator boost pedal, the direct drive, which is a little amp sim pedal, and the headbone. Amps, basically 2 amps, 1 cabinet. We've got a new one. I believe you have a device. You have it. There you go. Pete's got it already.
Well, I used to use the original version on tour with Chris Cornell. I used it on tour to switch between amps. I eventually ended up using one amp just to kind of simplify my rig. But back when I wasn't doing that, I was switching between a couple different amps and using one of these to do it. And it worked really, really well. So, the thing about you guys is you make these things that almost no one else makes. There's not a hell of a lot of like AB boxes out there, for instance, that have proper isolation transformers and phase reverse for the B output. And you can go to a music store and buy that and get a radial. This isn't me just, tooting your guys' horn, there isn't anything else. There's a couple out there, and that's it. A few of these, brands that make these things. And you guys are probably the primary one that always comes to mind. So I recommend, beyond the demos and stuff I've done, I honestly do end up recommending like your, the twin bones or the different ABs you make and stuff, because they just work for what a lot of people need for their rigs. So
thanks, Pete. Kind of Swiss Army knife approach, right?
Exactly. I mean, tools for musicians, or like your studio, I believe it's called a JD8. Is that right? The
JD7.
JD7, sorry. Yeah. Distribution to the different amps. That's an industry standard because nobody makes anything like that except for you guys. So it's really cool.
In the early days, I think Steve Vai, a couple of guys like that were the first that Radial got those out into the hands of some guys that were needing, a couple inputs, multiple outputs, isolate, things that work, things that are quiet. Sure. And you don't have to really go back and look at it as long as it's working, it's quiet, you can track. Or on tour, you want it to work. You don't want to have to go back and fiddle with things and be repatching and try to solve an issue. It's problem solving gear. But speaking of that, problem solving, I mean, you've been solving problems for a lot of people that are looking for a device and they see your channel. Go back a ways. Like you're from Edmonton, Canadian guy, but you moved to LA. You want to touch on a little bit about that, how you made that transition to you went to MI, was it?
I did. So when I was a kid, I got guitar obsessed probably around, I started when I was 10, and by the time I was 11, I had the bug, and I was just so into it. And so playing a lot and, practicing, taking lessons and stuff. And then like around 14, 15 was when I got my first jobs working in music shops, actually in my hometown. So I worked, as a sales guy, like when I was, I guess, starting 15, 16 years old. Some place was crazy enough to give me as a kid a job, but they knew I was guitar obsessed. So, and then I also, and then I also started teaching music lessons for that same store. So I had a little teaching studio, and then I would, work in the stores sometimes that they have multiple stores in my hometown. So basically, long story short, I was doing a little bit of teaching. I was working in music shops and had this interest in the gear and the pedals and the amps and all that stuff. And then I was also practicing all the time and trying to get to be a, good player. So then I moved to LA and did the MI thing, GIT, and then just started working on bands after that. Really got in an original band and finally got signed. This is like mid 90s, and got a record deal.
Yeah.
And that was sort of my foray into becoming a professional musician. But the whole thing kind of comes full circle for me, working in music shops, teaching, as well as playing and working towards being a professional player. And I feel like that's all kind of part of what I do now. Like I've just drawn from that background. I'm demonstrating gear like you would in a music shop, saying, here's what this pedal does, check this one out. These are the features. There's a level of instruction involved as well as the playing. So that's how I try and pull it all together, I guess.
Well, the diversity in your playing, I mean, you're such a great player, but I mean, would it be fair to say, I mean, you got an early start with the Don Henley camp at one point, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, Don was one of the very first sort of really high profile gigs that I auditioned for. That was in 20 years ago, in 2000. So I was, mid 20s, and I was a little green, but I got in to get in there into that camp. And I didn't get the gig that time, but I was the runner up for the gig for that tour, 2000. And so I didn't know if I was going to kind of get laughed out of the room or what, but to stand in there and play, 9 or 10 Don Henley songs with him at the audition, I knew it's like, okay, this is the big time. You got your rig set up. You're in a great sound stage for a rehearsal studio. I got 2 1,000 watts, Claire Brothers wedges in front of me, and we kick off playing Dirty Laundry, and that voice come in, I make my living, I'll make
nice.
And I'm like, now's not the time to suck. let's
keep it together.
Yeah, keep it together. Exactly. So I did the audition, and then I was asked after the audition to come back for a callback. And nice. I was like, I can't even believe I got that far, and so I was so stoked. So I did the callback, and then he asked me to come back and play again and do another one. So it was it was a long process of a few weeks of all these auditions. At the end, he ended up hiring Peter Stroud. He's a good friend of mine. He's a great guitar player.
Stroud's good.
Sheryl Crow's band. And so Don made the right decision, I felt like, because he has, he's older than me, and I felt like he was really seasoned. But Don said, you were my second choice, and you were great, and maybe we can work together down the road. And I thought, if that's what I got from this situation, that means it gave me the confidence to know that I could hang. And if I could hang in that audition, I could, I was okay. So 10 years later, I got a call to go back again. It was interesting. Like when I went in to play the first time, his musical director, who was the only guy that was going to stay from the band, he was going to hire all the other musicians, including guitar player. The MD said, if you want to bring in some other players and put together a group, he's open to it. So I had put together a drummer, a bass player, a keyboard player, and myself to go in for that initial audition. The keyboard player ended up getting the gig, my friend Will, and he ended up becoming Don's musical director, and then musical director for the Eagles as well. So I've always said to him, you owe me sushi because I got you. He's taken me out for sushi, I think, at least once or twice. But anyways, so he called me 9 years later, it's 2009, and he said, hey, Don's needs a guitar player again. You want to come down and play? So now he's the guy that I got in the room. Now he's calling me to audition. So I came back to do it again. And I always remember Don walking in and say, hey, Pete, what's going on? Hey, Don, 9 years later, here we are. And that time I got the gig. And
that's
so then
fantastic.
For about a 6-year tenure, I was working with him. And we actually got to do a show about, I don't know, it must be 2.5 years ago or something. We did a one-off in Vegas, and they needed somebody, and I went out and played. So I'm still sort of in the fold, I feel like. But I had nothing but great times working with Don. He's a he's a perfectionist, and he likes things just so, and he's a legend, and he's amazing. So
yeah, in a big way. Were you working with Chris Cornell at the same time though? Didn't you start with Chris earlier than?
Actually, Henley happened just after, like literally just 2 months after. Yeah, so we finished touring with Chris, and then Chris kind of went on to do like his solo tours, like solo acoustic, and then ended up rejoining Soundgarden around 2011, I think. So he was off doing that. So that was kind of, we still ended up doing stuff together later on, but that was really the end of our touring cycle as a band, the kind of Chris Cornell 3-year touring cycle, that 2007 to 2009 or 10 or so. So it was late 2009 when I got the call to go audition for Don again. So it was I was very lucky over the course of my career. When something would end, something else, another opportunity would open up, a door would open. So by that
doors open and close, right?
Yeah. By that fall, I was out on tour with Don. I think the Chris Cornell tour, we'd all come home around June or July, and by September, I was rehearsing and going out with Don on tour.
Nice.
Same year. Yeah.
Outstanding. Like the gear, the YouTube channel, and what you've been doing such a great job at. You started around that time though, doing this and touring. So, I mean, were you finding it a struggle to balance both, or was it just come home, do the channel and some gear and get into that? And then it's kind of snowballed from there, hasn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't actively too worried about it at the time. I was just sort of, YouTube was so young, and I think even the types of, when I make a video for companies, it's a little more like it's become a thing. This is how companies let people know about their products. It was more still print media then, and we've almost become like the new print media or something, where it's Guitar Player magazine or something. I mean, they're still out there doing reviews, but this is now the thing that that folks are aware of and doing. Now it's even got into like TikTok, people doing, the thing on there. It's like, the company's looking for TikTok people to pray, it's like it's just the way it goes. So, but that wasn't really happening back then. So there wasn't this like a pressure to you know, hey, we need you to make a video or something for this thing. Back then it was a little more haphazard, and I was doing it when I had time, and it was new and very Wild West, you know, just kind of like we were all just kind of having at it. And
Nice.
and I wasn't putting a hell of a lot of thought, to be honest, into exactly what I was doing. Like it wasn't like this calculated. Now I think people start YouTube channels with much more of a direction.
Yeah.
And you know, I was just kind of like, hey, I'm a guitar player, I'm just going to make some guitar videos, you know. And so it was a lesson.
I'm just going to play through this and show people what it does. And you've become an influencer for so many. There's another one that I've been in contact with. He does great work. Leo from Leapfrog Studios in Norway.
Or Frog Leap. Yeah.
Frog Leap, that's right.
Yeah.
One of those guys that kind of does a bit of a different approach with the music side. Funny, really great character.
Okay, so here's a guy that, like I was just saying, like when people start a YouTube channel with an idea, I think he has a very, you know, he is an amazing guy. First of all, he's a friend of mine. I mean, I met him a few years ago in Germany, and he blew my mind with his, like, well, he's just so talented. I mean, he's a music producer, makes funny videos. He makes great, you know, he can play everything. He's just got so many skills, and he's parlayed it into a really, really cool thing. Obviously has fun doing what he does. And he's a really big inspiration to me, actually, as far as like, yeah, in a time where a lot of people complain about the music business, or like, oh, it's not like it used to be, or, you know, Spotify sucks or whatever, like that kind of stuff. Musicians can't make any money anymore. Here's a guy that's got a career living in the fjords of Norway, doing exactly doing exactly what he wants to do, you know. And I find that really inspiring. So it's just like, those are the type of people I want to be around, because
very cool. Wow.
Very positive and very smart and very forward thinking, and he's kind of got it all figured out. But yeah, he's great. Yeah,
his band format, I've seen him do some cover versions. I was talking to him about some switchers, and he was actually going out to do some dates, some fairly large festival dates, and doing, you know, like insane covers of Africa by Toto and stuff like that, like metaled out, really cool, funny.
He contacted me around the time he was starting to just ask me a few questions, because he said, I think I'm going to get out and do a band, and like get out and play, actually. And so he had a couple of questions about just putting a band together and what that meant and stuff. And so, you know, I answered his questions as best I could. Next thing I know, like 6-8 months later, he's like, oh, there he is playing in front of 30,000 people at the end of, like, you know, I think they would do festivals kind of at the end, like maybe after the headliner, but there's still people that want to stay and party and hang out. And there'd still be like 40,000 people there, and they're up there like at midnight playing, like, you know, these amazing covers and doing it. I just was like, well, I guess he knew how to do that, because there he is. He's got this great slot. That's what I mean. He, like, that guy, I mean, he has this vision, and then he just does it. And there it is. He like does. And he's really cool, Leo. Yeah,
very cool. You know, guys like that, guys like yourself, I mean, help connect us as musicians and fans, but to the geared to the music. But at the same time, it connects us sort of to each other, because there's a community out there that share and comments about what you're doing, what people like Leo are doing, that actually, like I said early on, kind of move the needle. Actually, there's a tipping point that's occurred that has become this groundswell of gear influencers, and you're such a huge part of that. And I know you're a busy guy. We got to probably wrap up, but at the same time, I mean, you help make us who we are as a company, because we look to, we come up with something and go, well, let's talk to Pete.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's really important for us that you appreciate the gear we make, and we appreciate what you do, because you help us connect to the musicians and end users out there that need advice that maybe we can't convey the way you do, man. Like,
thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, it's the way the business has gone is really interesting, because I do feel like in some ways for me, it's been this convergence of the music business with the musical instrument business, and it's all tying up. Yeah. And it's like, there's no like rules anymore about, essentially it's like coming back to what I was saying about, I mean, when I make a video, it's really all about writing a little song and making music and how I use the equipment to do that. But hopefully my goal is always like maybe for the minute and a half or 2 minutes that the song is playing in my videos, folks forget about that end of it and it just becomes music. And then we get back into, okay, how did we use the equipment to make the music or get inspired to write a certain riff or song or something. And that's the fun part. And the fact that we can do all, like you mentioned, Leo, the fact that Leo can kind of do his model too, which is a different thing, although he does some videos about gear as well, but make these amazing music videos that are covers where he also injects a lot of his own musicality and a little bit of writing into each one he does and makes a funny video. I mean, I guess my point is just that it's wide open. And if you've got an idea out there, the music business can be a tough and unforgiving place, but also we have this direct connection now with folks that could potentially become fans or supporters, you know, and that direct connection is something that you can use. There's nobody out there that can tell you that you're too old or too young, or that you don't look right, or that your name's not cool or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you've got an idea, you can now connect with people making, you know, these videos and use these tools that we've got now to get out there and do your thing. So anyway, I don't know if that's what you were getting at or not, but it's like part of the whole, you know, it's like,
it totally is. I wanted to ask you, speaking of getting out there, one of the things I'm sure you as a musician, you miss being out there. Any plans that when some gigs start opening up, have you got plans to get out with with your band and hit the road and do some actual dates?
Well, the group that I toured with last year, which ended up being really, really, really fun. I went to the UK and I did a tour with this group called the Classic Rock Show, where we were basically just playing the cool songs from everybody from Zeppelin to The Who to, you know, all kinds of music. And they've been building this thing over the years. Last year was my first year doing it, but it's the same organization that does Brit Floyd, which is a fantastic.
They're amazing. Yeah,
just incredible. So this is the same group of folks that put this together. Wow. And so it's, you're playing covers, but it's not a cover band in the traditional sense. It's like full video, full lights, theater shows. Sometimes, I mean, you know, Brit Floyd does Red Rocks, you know, and with full production, and it's just an incredible celebration of that music done on a very, very high level. So I did a tour with them last year, all over the UK. We did it. I think it was like, I don't know, 39 dates or something all over the UK. Wow. And it was really, really fun. So as soon as they can get back, they want to do it, because I know that's they're raring to get out there and do it again. And I'd be happy to go do that again, because it was so much fun. So their plans, I mean, I can't, say anything about dates, but I know the UK has done really, really well with vaccination, and it made a lot of, it's just happening at a fast rate there. So I think that the thinking is that hopefully, we'll be able to get back to some kind of new normal or whatever pretty soon and get out there and do some shows. So
let's cross some fingers, my friend. In saying that, we got to sign off. It's great to see you as always. We really appreciate your time, and keep doing what you're doing, man, because we all rely on it. It means a lot to see what you're doing, especially to hear the music you bring in around the videos and the devices. Just hearing you play, especially when Ed passed away a while ago, you did a couple of videos just throwing down some serious Van Halen licks. And I know it's such an influence and part of your life growing up and ours as well. Seeing you play that stuff was it was ripping. I mean, seriously, the tones were there, the playing was there. I shared a few things of you playing Ed's some of his stuff, and such a huge loss for all of us, for sure, when you hear that news, right? So,
oh man, I mean, he meant so much to me, and he's my number one influence, really, I think. And so I appreciate you saying that. And there's another one coming too. We're doing a fun one coming up soon on kind of the Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2 era pickups. Yeah, specifically pickups. So I have sitting here about, God, we got to have 20 at least pickups to try and listen to, and it'll be this massive pickup. It's crazy. We got to get a guitar tech for the day to switch the pickups in and out of the guitar, and then grab the guitar and then play the stuff, get it recorded, snap the guitar off again, do pickup in the guitar with a soldering iron, and then we do the next one. And so it's going to be this big, fun pickup shootout. Lots of folks.
Well, you're doing shows on pickup, shows on tubes, like you're covering all the bases. So
the guitar nerd, that's me.
I know, guitar nerd. But anybody that wants to contact you, it's PeteThorn.com, right?
Yeah, that's my site, as well as the YouTube. You can just youtube.com/Pete Thorn. Please come by, subscribe, check out the videos. I try and make them fun.
Yeah, and they are, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks,
if you like what we're doing, subscribe, hit the notification bell for other interviews that we have coming up. Pete Thorn, thanks, buddy. Appreciate you joining us. And,
thanks for having me.
We'll see you guys when we see you. Over and out.
Take care.